You know, you can find resources on how to resolve conflict in marriage, how to improve communication, how to handle money and budgets, in-laws.
Yeah, but we looked high and low for a resource that would help us deal with one of our major issues, and that's our time-starved marriage.
Finding time together as a couple, and something we hear from a lot of couples are struggling with.
We know we're not alone, but I mean, here we've been married 22 years, we've got a young family, a 3-year-old, an 8-year-old, both working, and how in the world can we stay connected in the midst of all this?
Right, and so in this series, we've invited some other couples that are just as time-starved as we are to talk about this.
3 other couples to come and just explore solutions together. What can we do to stay connected?
Real couples that have real issues, just like you, in their time-starved marriage. Hey, you guys, I've got something here that I think you'd be interested in. As you can see, it's a money bag from the Federal Reserve Bank. Who wouldn't want a bag full of money handed to you?
I'll take
you know? In fact, what if I were to tell you there's $86,400 in this bag? I'm going to give it to you, but there's a hitch, right?
Yeah, you have to spend it all by midnight or it's gone.
Yeah. And you have to spend it on your marriage, something that would enrich your marriage.
I know what I would do.
What would you do?
I would buy 10 $8,600 trips, 2 week long, every single year for the next 10 years. That was guaranteed to get us away from kids, grandkids, daughters-in-law, extended family, and everyone else, to where we could just focus the week, unwind a week, and then actually enjoy each other's company for a week.
Wow.
You go, girl.
You got 10 years of vacations coming up.
It sounds like you've been thinking about this for a long time. Here, you better take the money.
I won!
What else?
I would buy property, I think, and maybe invest in our future for our retirement, is what I'm thinking, or else travel. What would you do?
Well, I think what I would do is I would walk just down the street, you know, in a major metropolitan area, and just walk up to people and say, "Do you like me?" And if they pause, then I'd give them like $1,000, and I go, "Do you like me now?"
Would that enrich your marriage?
Yeah, because it would make me feel like really my self-esteem would just soar.
And that would make you a better husband? I can see Marvelea's thrilled with this.
Yeah, I'd come home and I'd be like, you know, yeah. Right?
Jeff, what would you do?
Well, the practical side of me says pay off the student loans, but I think I would want to buy first-class tickets all the way around the world and then book some hotels along the way and just go on a nice vacation.
Sounds good.
Tammy likes that. Yeah. Well, the truth is, you can guess, it's probably not filled with money. What it's filled with is something that represents time. And we've got these little timers in here that represent time. And the truth is, we all get 86,400 seconds.
Every day.
In every day.
That's right.
What do you do? How do you invest those seconds? You know, it's gone at midnight. You get replenished again in the morning, but you can't spend those seconds again. That's what this series is all about.
Yeah.
And to kind of get this kind of going, let's talk a little bit about the basic myths that we bring into this.
I mean, and time is so weird because it's like it's in the background. I don't even think of it as a resource to invest for our marriage, really. It just feels like it's a reality that our marriage lives inside of. So when I see that, you know, I'm like, yeah, it is a resource. And what keeps me from investing that wisely in my marriage?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we are tempted to buy into is that time can be stopped. You know, somehow we believe that we'll just put things on hold, and
just a myth about how our marriage is impacted by time. Like, you know, we'll get to a certain high pressure point and we'll think, okay, we'll put our marriage on hold right now, and then when we pick our marriage back up after this season, whatever it is, we'll just keep going.
We used to have this quote that was in our study that said, some people spend their entire lives indefinitely preparing to live. And I put that up there because I buy into that so often. I think, oh, you know, after we do this, we'll eat better and we'll take more walks, or
we'll get in shape then.
Yeah, and we'll have time to connect or whatever it is. But have you guys ever done that? Have you bought into that myth sometimes that time can be stopped, and if so, how?
I think sometimes you have a tendency to do that when things are high pressure. You just say, okay, let's just deal with what's right in front of us, and let's just not worry about what's going on between us right now, because we just need to put that on hold.
Right.
And I think the key word you used is investing time versus spending time.
Right.
Because if we look at it as an investment, just like we look at everything else we do, then we're going to be more likely to say, hey, this is important, and I need to put something into it.
Right. Tammy, do you ever feel like you put time on hold or your marriage on hold until you have, quote, more time?
Well, every fall I have about 2 or 3 weeks of just craziness at my job, and I feel like we just say, okay, we're going into survival mode, and we actually have, that's what we call it, survival mode for 2 or 3 weeks, and we don't really talk, see each other.
You know, see each other. It's like, oh, hey, okay, see you in October. All right, love you.
Right, right. How about you guys?
I think when we were first married, Rick has always traveled in our marriage, and when we were first married, going to school, he had a job for a railroad company where he was gone for 10 days at a time, and I think
Rick was working on the railroad?
He was working, he was a sleeping car porter.
All the live long day.
And I think at that point we kind of, I figured, well, once he got done traveling, you know, we would, you know, get together and it would be a great thing. Well, this continued on through our marriage and actually until this today. And I just realized at that point that this is actually a part of his personality. He will always have that involved. And let's not put that on hold. Let's live for right now, even if it's communicating through the phone or whatever it might be. But don't put your relationship on hold.
You don't wait for the travel season to end because that's your whole life.
It's part of him.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, I had this little sign made to illustrate this because I thought this is what we sometimes do. You've all seen these little signs in a shop and you go and we'll be back here. But sometimes it's like marriage will return at, you know, and you kind of hang that on the door of your house. And, but it's difficult to kind of really build a connection if you buy into that myth.
Yeah, because the thing is, when you come back together, it's not what it was when you put it on hold. You know, time has marched forward, you're not in the same place, and it's not that easy to pick up and reconnect.
Right. In fact, we spoke recently to a bunch of Marines that were returning from an assignment.
And that's a really moving thing, because here, you know, they've been away for a year minimum, you know, and they're coming home and they have this idealized picture in their mind of what they're coming home to, this
well, that
person
life is
they
just going to pick up right where they left off, and of course, time marches on.
Things have changed. I mean, they've been gone. People have had to step into responsibilities. The house doesn't run the same, you know, and so they come back. Things are not the same, and it's jolting.
Right, so time can be stopped. Big myth. Another one is that time can be saved. You know, somehow we think that you can save this thing that's intangible, and I'm going to hold all this and we'll spend it later.
We kind of hoard it. It's like, you know, thinking, well, okay, I'm going to sleep for 24 hours today, and then I won't sleep the rest of the week. You know, it just doesn't work that way. And it's kind of like that with marriage, where you kind of think, oh, you know, we're going to have one day together, and then we're gone. Have
you guys ever found that when you're trying to join your spirits together and you do something that you think is going to kind of save you time, it ends up backfiring? Because I did this.
I'll tell you about a backfire.
Yeah, I did this crazy thing.
I got a nice message from Les. I came home and, you know, he left me a little voicemail, how he loved me, and I came and said, that was awesome. Thanks for thinking of me today. And he kind of had this blank look on his face. But I didn't think much of it. Happened again another week, and I did the same thing. And he's just like looking at me like, you know. Well, then I began to unpack this with him, and he had sat down one day and thought, you know, I should be doing more of this. So he future delivery sent me like 5 or 6 little love messages on my voicemail.
I'll check that off my to-do list.
So
not the best thing I've ever done.
So when I'd get him and I'd be all happy and connected, no, you love me, he's like, who are you? I don't, you know, he didn't even remember sending it, and it did not have an impact of connecting.
My heart was in it when I did it, but it was like, you know, sending these things on future delivery, not a good idea, because it's like, you know, it's like out of the moment. It's like, boom, something parachutes in.
You should have reminded yourself as well in that way.
Yeah,
sent my own messages.
Delivered his own, that's right.
Yeah, so if this is the case, we all struggle with time. It's huge. So what have you guys found that really is effective in helping you join your spirits together when we don't have the abundance of time? We have what is limited each day to spend together.
I was just looking at those little timers that you took out of the bag of money, and I thought about that, and I was telling Aaron, I said, just stare into my eyes for 3 minutes, go.
Here's the timer, you can use that.
I said, then ask me for anything you want, because those are the kinds of things
that
are
absolute truth.
That
it really
important.
doesn't take that much more, even sometimes. And those, I mean, 3 minutes, that can change your whole feeling about your spouse.
Exactly.
If you genuinely
So
connect.
Rick and Marvelea, here's 3 minutes.
There's this oil change place that I go to, and I kind of have this feeling because it says 10-minute oil change. And Marvelea and I have actually developed this into sort of a routine that we go through, or a kind of a ritual that we have. And
Yeah,
it's
you
called
tell me you have a
oil change teriyaki.
Yeah.
But what we did is we decided that next to this oil change place, which really doesn't take 10 minutes,
Right.
is this teriyaki restaurant, which is kind of a great little place to eat. So whenever our car needs an oil change, we just have like an oil change teriyaki date. We take the car there, we walk over, we sit, we talk, we catch up, we think about some things, and then we go back and our car's ready to go. So it took this sort of frustrating, sort of time-consuming necessity, and it kind of turned it into one of this little kind of appointment that we use to sort of coordinate.
So
what's
it's a
going on.
ritual that's built into the fabric of your marriage, because you got to get your oil changed
Right.
every however it is. What do you guys do? Do you have little routines that kind of bring you together? You know, any little things that you've discovered or
Well,
points?
we eat dinner together. I mean, almost every night when we can. And part of it is, putting the meal together and having Henry help a little bit. I get a little vision, and
Right.
just to kind of have that time together, because we feel like it's a valuable time for us to connect and for him to see us connect.
Right. But that's so valuable, isn't it? Because you really do join your spirits. Anything else that comes to mind on
Well,
joining?
another thing that we've decided to do is to eliminate some of the time that we used to spend in separate activities.
Yeah.
And start to
Like
do
what?
things that were, well, I used to be involved, like for instance, I used to golf with a group of guys, and I actually enjoy golfing with Marv more than with these guys, because in that 4 or 5 hours, you just talk about so many things, and I
Right.
realized, I'm really getting close to my friends, but I'm not married to them. So
Right.
we switched from, having separate groups to where, we formed our own.
Right. Well, the point of this is to say the most important investment you make in your marriage is not going to be financial. It's going to be how you invest those 86,400 seconds. What portion of those do you spend on each other and invest in your love life? That's what this series is about. So glad you guys are with us to enjoy the journey. We're so glad you're participating in this series. We've done our best to give you some practical tools to really apply this to your lives.
Yeah, some workbooks that will help you really take it to that personal level as a couple.
And as you probably already know, there's a men's workbook and
a women's workbook.
A women's workbook. And in here you'll find some discussion questions that you can kind of get rolling on as a group, and that's followed by a workbook exercise to really drill down.
Yeah, the exercise helps you to think through specifically with this issue, how do we do this in our home?
So maximizing your time quotient, that's the exercise that goes with this session.